Do not disturb. Hopefully, no one calls me. We're live. Here we go, dude.
All right, awesome.
Cheers, man. So, dude, thank you for doing this.
No, thank you for having me, Effie.
So let's start. How you started, dude? How'd you open this place?
I mean, it was a culmination of a lot of events. You know, I was a software engineer at Stryker, a biomedical company in
Yeah, I know them.
Davy,
I
and
in Davy, Florida.
in Davy, Florida.
Are you from here?
No, I'm from Halifax County, Virginia, on a big tobacco farm. I met my wife while I was finishing up college at a small technical college right beside Arizona State.
So you in Arizona for college?
Yeah, yeah. Finished up school at Arizona. I went to a lot of colleges, but trust me, that's a story for a different day.
Okay.
But I finally became an adult and a good student.
How long did that take? A
At
couple of years?
for me, about probably like 4 or 5. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 universities to figure
I
it out. You
I
know,
hear
a
that.
little hiatus here and there, just because my father was a PhD in entomology and education was so important to him. I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up, coming out of school and growing up on a big tobacco farm in a very small town. My real focus was just getting out of my small town and
You wanted to get out.
yeah,
You didn't want to be there.
no, there was no, other than, we didn't have a family business. My dad had a really good job because he was entomologist for FMC, which is owned by Philip Morris
Cool.
for Marlboro cigarettes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And, this is the late 80s, early 90s and stuff. And then, I finished school in the late 90s and started college in the early 2000s. And I just didn't have, I thought I was going to play sports. I thought I was going to be an athlete.
Really? What'd you
And
play?
I was playing baseball and football, also on like swimming team and golf team. But like I was being recruited like decently to play baseball, and I was just fucking around. I wasn't being a good student, and you coming from a small town when you're a pretty decent athlete, you kind of get everything given to you, and
Yeah.
and then when came time for college and studying and exams, I just wasn't really prepared for that. It took me a little bit of time to mature, and so I had to punt a couple times and figure that out. And
Sure.
and I met my wife, and it really just changed my life. And this is 16, almost 17 years ago now.
Yeah.
We've been married for almost 11 years, been together for over 16. And,
Wow.
when I met her, she was 19. I was like maybe 23.
Nice.
And she just, just motivated me, inspired me. She knew exactly what she wanted to do at like 18, 19
How'd
years
you meet
old.
her?
We were neighbors in the same apartment complex outside the university.
Nice. That's the best way to do it, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
That's
she
the
had a
best way to
boyfriend
do
at
it.
the time, so I waited my time.
Sure.
I didn't do anything fucked up. I waited for that bridge to naturally
Good for you.
erode, and
Good for you.
yeah, you don't want to create that kind of karma. I'm not that kind of guy.
No, dude.
I'm about kicking asses, but I'm not about creating bad karma.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. You were always an athlete. You always
Oh
loved
yeah,
sports.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
And all of them came to easy to you?
yeah. I mean, I was very like, and I still am. I mean, I'm very naturally athletic. I mean, even when we moved out here, I had just shattered my tibia and fibula,
Yeah.
playing in a flag league out in Arizona. And I came out here and I was still playing. I was driving up to Jog Road from Kendall just to
Okay.
play flag out here. Even after I broke my leg and stuff like that. And I was I was just in a rec basketball league across the street at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Salvation
really?
Army.
What do you play?
We were playing on a Wednesday night league out there. I'm a smaller guy, but I mean, I just
Yeah, so
like,
what position you play?
I don't
You
know if we
play
really had a true
no?
position. Not running point, definitely not a center, but I mean, some sort of guard or some
Yeah.
sort of forward. It
Gotcha,
depends
gotcha.
on
Yeah,
the
because
size.
you can body someone up if you need,
I love
but
being physical. I love
sure.
being down low, bumping people out with the
Mm-hmm.
backside and getting boards. Like
Sure.
I was an aggressive, undersized guy, you
Those are the
know.
best players, by the way. I mean,
Well,
Charles Barkley.
especially for shit, exactly.
Because
Right.
no one expects you to do what you're gonna do until until it happens, and then they don't know what happened at that point.
100%.
Like they don't realize that you're gonna box them out and you're gonna out hustle them, and then by the time they realize it,
Too
you already
late.
got 10 rebounds.
That's right.
And
And that was really what I always focused on was just, get, shitty rebounds that are easy putback points,
sure. By the
and
way,
and then battle for boards, just be physical, play great defense, stick to people, be physical,
that was
demand that, but with respect, but be physical. And like I said, welcome to contact, something about that contact, bumping the shoulder,
oh yeah.
like backsides to, chest to chest, back to back, like just banging with somebody down low. I really fed off that. And I still do.
Yeah,
I still love that.
it's fun.
I know I should be in like jujitsu or something and like rolling. You know
You
what I mean?
should, dude. I'm dying to start. I'm dying to start some kind of MMA, dude. I got into UFC this past year. I never got into it until now, and I'm too much of a pussy to take a punch to the face. But I'm dying to get into it. Like I know that the first time I get punched in the face, I'll get over it and I'll be like, okay, I'll be fine. But dude, I'm just this Jewish kid from New York that does not that does not take violence very well.
I understand. Yeah.
Um, It's so funny. That's so funny. So you're always athletic, always love sports, competitive.
Yeah,
I'm
very
sure. I'm
much so.
sure.
Very much so. I think just naturally, you're a farm kid from a farm in Virginia, and nobody really
Which part of Virginia?
Halifax. Right on the border of North Carolina. I grew up
Get
maybe
out of
40.
here.
I
Yeah,
grew up like an
that's
hour from Duke and UNC.
yeah, dude. So my dad has a log cabin a little further west of there, but right by Birdsville and Asheville area.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's like 3-4 hours west,
Yep. Yep.
but dude, I love North Carolina. It might be one of my favorite states. It might be my favorite state on the East Coast, dude.
It's a great state. It has a lot of different topography. So you can be in the mountains, you can be at the beach.
Yeah,
You
got
know,
seasons. It's
yeah,
got
got
seasons,
seasons.
and it's got a lot of personality. The
If you're
people
in
from there are
Charlotte or
so
Raleigh,
nice.
that these are like metropolitan style cities now, especially with the banking industry so big in Charlotte.
Yeah,
When I go home, I fly to Raleigh, and it's like I said, about an hour and a half drive
it's
home.
not bad. Still
No,
really on
not
the
bad.
border. Richmond is right on the border, isn't it?
Richmond,
No.
Richmond's still 2 hours north of me.
What's that city? There's a city right off
Danville.
95. Right off 95 when you're heading south. It's like the
I don't
last.
know because we take 40, so
Oh, you take
we take
40.
40 east.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get, and then we take like the 147 expressway when we come into
Into
Danville's right on the border. Oxford's right on the border.
okay.
I'd be lying if I said for sure because I don't get on 95 until
95 is west of you.
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yes, Fayetteville. That's what I was thinking of. That's what I was
The
thinking
other
of.
FSU.
Yeah. Oh, are they FSU?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no one knows who they are, so I don't know if it counts as much.
It's mad. It's mad gangster out there.
Are they?
Yeah, it's mad gangster.
I've stayed overnight once or twice there.
That's
On
enough.
my way down to Florida, and I was like, I think I'm gonna keep on pushing through this part of town, man.
That's what. See, we would take 40. We would take 501 to Raleigh. At Raleigh, get on 40. Take 40 for an hour to Fayetteville, then take 95 the rest of the way.
There you go. Yeah, totally.
And it
Totally.
would always be south. We would never be 95 north.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. So how'd you get into software? I sell medical equipment. Like
Yeah.
I'm in that industry.
Yeah.
How'd you get into
I
that?
kind of stumbled into it. I was always a big video game guy, and I saw the opportunity back in the day, in the late '90s, to get into video game engineering. And
Cool.
there was some schools out by Arizona State that primarily did that as a Bachelor of Arts, very similar to these like schools like Full Sail and Art Institute.
Yeah.
Some of those don't exist anymore.
Arizona State is ASU.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Cool. I
And
thought
I
about
mean,
that for a hot second too. By the way.
yeah, and they had it was a great time, and they had a lot of really great programs. And so yeah, I went into school there. They also had like Fox Studios and a lot of animation companies out there back then.
Cool.
So it was really easy to get into the industry. They had THQ, which is Toy Headquarters, which was a big video game company, as well as D3 Publisher of America, that was a publisher of video games. They owned a bunch of licenses like uh, Ben 10,
Cool.
Puffy Amiyumi,
Yeah,
a lot of
that.
the Cartoon Network stuff, as well as like Galactrix and Professor Layton and some other things. A Duke Nukem playoff called Matt Hazard, shit like that.
So you knew all this shit.
Yeah. I was like really into rigging for animation.
Okay.
I did a lot of motion capture in the monkey suit, a lot of keylogging programming.
Wow.
So
How'd you learn this stuff?
it was part of the program.
It's part of the program.
Yeah.
But you
I mean,
thought
I
you
was
were
a
interested in
self-taught
it.
computer guy, like
Right.
from early.
You loved it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I grew up in dial-up internet, like, like
Sure.
way before fucking smartphones and shit. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like I just grew up working on computers and having the access to a computer. Even though I was all like out in bumfuck Egypt, with the country shit. Like my roads weren't even paved till after COVID. We didn't get high-speed internet at my house after COVID,
No
so the kids could
way.
go to school from home. Yeah, I mean,
Wow,
we just got
dude.
high-speed internet where I'm from.
That's crazy.
Well,
Because I've
but it's
driven
just
through.
crazy because you're from New York and you live in South Florida. Like, it's not crazy. Most of the country is like where I'm from.
You think most of the country is?
I do.
Right.
I think most of the country's rural. But there's so many big cities with
Yeah, with so many
major people
Yeah,
that people just forget that.
they do.
You go to Kansas, you go to Iowa, you drive
I've
through.
been to all these
You
places,
go to these
sure.
places like
But
there's
even
not a
like,
lot out there.
I mean, I've been to
They all
places.
have their major city that's their
Yeah,
capital or
they do.
whatever.
Right, exactly.
But then
But
an
I don't
hour
associate
outside of
it.
it, there's nothing out there.
That's right. So I've driven. I lived in Seattle for a little while. Actually, I had a buddy of mine, one of my roommates at the time, and I lived in Seattle. It was he just got laid off because they closed the tap room. He was a brewer at Elysian.
Oh, wow.
And they closed the tap room because Bush Anheuser, I think, owns them.
Yep. AB and Bev.
Yeah. So they closed that tap room. But he was brewing there for a couple of years now, and while we're driving, so when we went to move there, we drove there from New York, and I convinced three buddies of mine. We're all single dudes. Let's get a
Yeah.
house. Let's move to Seattle. They're like, yeah. And I was
Why
like,
not?
let's do it, man. Like, why not? Let's spend a year there. If we don't like it, we don't like it. I mean,
Yeah,
like, we're 24. We have nothing else going on in our lives. Like, let's try it out.
absolutely.
And we stopped in Des Moines, and we stopped in,
Yeah, I love Des Moines. I go there
dude,
at least
Des
once a year.
Moines was awesome.
High Life
And
Lounge,
boy,
fucking.
I mean, we were in Colorado. We were in Boise. We were in
I'll be in
these were
Colorado next
major
month.
cities. You're gonna be in Colorado next
Well
month.
worked in, well
Well worked.
invitational. Yeah.
Nice, dude. Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, I fell in love. And then also, I mean, again, where my dad's cabin was, Burnsville's a tiny town. Asheville's huge by
Sure.
every other standard and anything near there, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on there
Oh, it's
since the
terrible.
hurricane.
Like, Hendersonville like doesn't even
They
exist
haven't
anymore.
recovered, right?
No, and no one's helping them.
So
It's a
sad, dude. They
travesty.
really,
It's a
really,
travesty.
dude, it breaks my heart.
You know,
Especially
this
because I've
isn't
been
Haiti.
there.
This is America.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's sad, man. It's sad because it's so spread out and there's so many people and there's so many places and
That are
so many.
affected and like unable to get to. And it's like I don't know if this happened in like a major city where there was a local news station. Like I feel like this shit would be all
You
over
hear about
everything.
LA now?
Yeah,
LA's in flames,
yeah.
dude. I mean, even a place like LA where the richest people in the world are and the most expensive real estate and all that shit. At the end of the day, like, the fire. What can you do?
No, I mean that's what you got insurance for.
That's you hope
I
you
mean,
got
it's you
insurance
know, I
for.
mean, it sucks to say something like that, but I
No,
mean,
no, it's true because I mean you can't control it, right? So
no,
if you can control anything, you may as well control
you
trying to
get your
be.
shit and you get out
Yeah,
of there and you survive.
you hope so.
You hope you can rebuild.
You
Hopefully, you
hope
paid your
so.
premiums.
You hope so. So so dude, going to college, early 2000s, high, great time for American culture. I feel like, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was right on that cusp. When I finished college, because I moved down to St. Thomas for like almost 2 years. I kind of punted in between, flunking out of school, not being prepared, and et cetera, and and whatnot. And that's a story for another day. But I was down in St. Thomas running my own business down there and did very
Really?
well.
What were
But
you doing down there?
I opened up an import-export company that focused mostly on New Era fitted caps. I was really into hip hop and
Cool.
New Era
Really?
hats were like kind of all the craze. We
How'd you
also do
start
like
that?
I just didn't want to be in the States no more. And I just wanted to be somewhere else. And this was still
Close enough.
territory. And I
Hmm.
could move down there and kind of be bohemian, as my dad said. My dad always said,
How old are you at this point?
probably 20 to 22.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Really?
Or maybe 21 to 23, somewhere in
Do you
there.
think? What do you think when you think back about those? Do you think about those times often?
Oh, no, I never think about it. I mean, I live at the beach now,
You do live
so,
at the beach now. It's true.
I moved down there to live at the beach and it was a great lifestyle. That was amazing. It was a great time to be young and to be able to fuck about down there, But it was nothing but ex-cons and people on the run for tax evasion and shit
Yeah.
like that, and it just a lot of criminal activity, and I was probably involved in some of that. And it was just not the best. It wasn't the best version of me.
Right, right. So you don't think about that often, but you had this good business that was rolling.
Yeah, but, I mean, good
I mean, listen,
is a
you're living.
term. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, good is as long as you're living your life and you're able to do your thing, then you're in a good
It
business.
was a wonderful opportunity to show me how to balance books and show me how to place orders and work with customers
That's
and
awesome.
pay
It's
rent
so
and shit
important.
like that. Like so things that I wasn't privy to. It taught me that very quickly. I was in Haven site right by downtown and yeah, it was great. It was fun. It was everybody was very welcoming to me and I had a good time.
I feel like I'm one of my friends that works for like a small business. Like I work in a family business, right? And everything I do myself. Like I do this podcast with myself. I teach part time on the side. And then it's a little family business. And I feel like I learned so much freaking more about life and business. Like my skill set. I think like, if I had to start a business tomorrow, I'd be better equipped than a lot of my friends that got one job at a big corporation that they were just that same cog in
Oh
that
yeah,
wheel.
and they got that 401k and
And
they got that health
yeah, but
insurance and
their
they're
their
like,
only
oh,
responsibility is only to do what the one thing that they're hired
and
to
they
do
get their
is.
promotion and their 3% raise and they're
Yeah,
happy
that's
with
it.
that
That's
and
it. That's it.
no
That's it.
challenge, baby.
That's it. Well,
That guaranteed check every 2 weeks or
it's
on
a
the
different
first
type
of
of
15.
challenge. It's a different type of challenge.
Yes, it's a different type of challenge because like you don't have to really try.
Yeah, but you have to live with that. And you also
Yeah,
have to, and people like the comfort of like Like they'll be like, okay, listen, I
Oh,
work 9 to 6 or 9 to 7 or 10 to 5, whatever it
I
is.
get 3 weeks of vacation.
I get 3 weeks of vacation, and at nights I could play basketball. I'm
Sure.
like, that's like I'm
It's
happy, I'm
very
satisfied.
convenient
It is
if
convenient.
you want to buy into corporate America and be be part of that.
So
And I mean, I was working for multiple Fortune 500 companies. Like I did it too. I'm not knocking it. It's
sure,
just I knew it was never where I wanted to be. Being around people who, and for lack of a better word, were incompetent. Being
yeah,
around people who could not do your job, but as a programmer, as a software engineer, there's these business analysts and these program managers, project managers, and they went to school and got some fucking MBA, and they hop out and they're looking at is deliverables, deliverable this, and they think that making meetings to talk about these fucking deliverables is being, it's
productive.
working hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, being productive.
Make
And
it
that's not fucking
productive.
productive.
Yeah,
They go in and we go to these monthly, had these big meetings, and all of us were the schleps.
yeah.
We were the ones that did all the fucking work, and they're patting themselves on the back and clapping and hooping. And I'm like, you didn't do a fucking thing, and all
Yeah,
you did was bitch at me for a month.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And you don't even bring us up in the shit.
yeah.
And so I got sick and tired of people who couldn't do my job giving me deadlines.
It's a tough culture. It's a
You got to
tough.
buy in.
You got to buy. That's what it is. You got to be willing. You got to be willing to say, like, it's funny because like people like I'm a huge movie fan, right? My friends are like, I don't get how you like that movie. I'm like, once you're checking reality at the door, like you're checking at the door, you're
Sure.
buying in, you're ready to go, and like
Yeah.
you're ready to believe what someone's telling you now. Like
Absolutely.
you're ready. Like I feel like people do that with jobs, people do that with frats, people do that with
It's
school,
part
people
of
do that.
growth, man.
It's part of life. Is that because we want to be we want to be accepted as part of a
That's
group?
something bigger.
Yeah,
It's
that's
something
right.
bigger.
That's right.
Whether it's God or whether it's your local community or
That's
whatever the
right.
fuck it
You want to
is.
tap into. You want to feel like you're contributing to a bigger.
Society, to
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
That's
That's
what sense
exactly
of
what it is.
community is about.
That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. So you did that. How'd you get to Striker?
I went to
Striker's a cool
Strat.
company.
Oh, it's a great company, Fortune 500 company. They had just got bought by. They had just bought a company that was owned by. I think his name was Rory Abovitz, and he had this 3D mapping sort of technology that was the idea behind the Mako robotic arm.
Okay.
And then he went on to create Magic Leap, which it probably isn't even
What's Magic? I
real.
even heard of it.
Exactly. Well, they've been around. They're at the old Motorola building now. I interviewed with them for 6 damn times. Like they kept,
Really?
yeah, they kept calling me, and I finally just told them leave me alone.
Really?
Because I mean, again, that I think it's vaporware. I don't think it's a real product, and that's neither here nor there. But
Yeah, put this way. Yeah.
Google and all these guys reached Alibaba and all these people ABC companies gave them millions of fucking dollars to produce this
Really?
headset that was AI, not artificial. What is it?
It's V.
It's like VR, but it's like AR, altered
Oh
reality.
yes, augmented reality.
Augmented. That's it.
Augmented
That's
reality.
it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
right.
And a lot of the guys came from tech, but they were such a young company that they were bringing in these people with MBAs, these 24-year-old fucking, no fucking
Experience.
wet behind their ears. They don't know shit, but they think they're this company running shit, and they're interviewing us of 10, 15 years experience of deliverables and unbelievable amounts of titles released, and it's these motherfuckers are trying to ask us stupid fucking questions. And I just remember what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
8 hour interviews. You're taking me to lunch. And I'm like, this shit is just a waste of time and money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you wonder why nothing's getting done.
By the way, that's what it is. There's so much fat on the meat. There's so much fat that you can't even get to the meat of anything. It's very difficult to.
And excuse me. And I started when I came down here from Arizona. I had been working in video games previously, so I came down here. I went to Sapien Nitro. A Vitamin
You
Water had
moved. You
just
moved straight from Arizona
Arizona to here
to South Florida.
yeah. Jamie got accepted to University of Miami Law School,
Oh, nice. I have
and
a
so
friend
we
that just
came
went there.
straight down.
When did she go there?
She went 11 to 13.
Gotcha. Okay.
Graduated
Before.
13. She's been practicing since 13.
And what does she practice?
I'm not gonna talk about that.
No problem.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll talk
No
about
problem.
that. She
Let me
doesn't.
do
She
it
doesn't
thing.
like for
You
me to
got
talk
it.
about that.
No problem, dude. I totally get that. I appreciate you saying that. Seriously, that's perfect because I'd rather you be. I'm gonna go wherever it goes, and
Yeah,
you
of
got to tell
course.
me where to go.
No.
Um,
Oh, and I'm not. We're not offended by it. It's just she's not
yeah, let her do her thing,
she's
dude.
not doing
You don't have to
pedophiles or anything like that.
dude, you have to.
She sues people, but yeah, it's just
She's not. She's not representing
this
Diddy.
this state is weird. So yeah, let's just not talk about it.
Okay, no problem, man. No problem. No problem. So you moved straight down here. You started working for Stryker.
I know when I moved first down, I went to Sapien Nitro. Then I went to Beckman Culture and helped develop a flow cytometer. That
Did
was
you feel
amazing.
good about all this stuff? How'd you like working in these
Um,
places?
Going from video games where you're on a project for 3 to 6 months, maybe 9 months the longest, and the new builds every day, and you're working with teams in India.
Yeah.
it's such a grind and you're trying to hit, these milestones to get like pay incentives and shit. I remember as a 23-year-old, kind of rookie in the game, like we're sleeping on the floor, they're ordering us pizzas. You're not even thinking about the fact you're only getting $10 an hour. They're working you to the nail. These
Did you
kids
enjoy
today.
it?
Oh my God, I loved it.
You loved it, so it's
Well,
worth it.
but I loved it because I knew I was working towards something bigger.
Yeah.
Like who does unpaid internships anymore? Who does who actually is, and not like go get me coffee internship, like
Sure. Yeah.
actual fucking work.
Yeah. Mailroom.
Nobody does that shit. Yeah, like like who became a lawyer that started in the mailroom and went to night school for law school and
Yeah.
was a paralegal and became like I
Sure.
know people do it, but the numbers are so small now.
They are.
And just because of how everything has changed, everything's so much virtual now. The world is just different.
It's very different.
Smartphones didn't exist yet either. My first gig was 2008. The first smartphone didn't come out till 2009.
You're BlackBerry, right?
Yeah, I had BlackBerry. That was RIMS. That was
BBM,
research in
dude.
motion. And then but once Droid came out in 2009 or 2010, it really changed my mind about like how smartphone or handsets is what we called them back
Yeah.
then. How they operate. The first iPhone had just come out, and so we came down, and the world was changing. Everybody was going from a desktop or a laptop, and everything's on their phone.
Yeah.
So I was part of the vitamin water team that was changing all that shit from like the commercials, like vitamin water, drink it now, and like making that shit show up on your phone from like
No
YouTube on your
way,
phone.
really?
Where the pixelation was different, the size of the screen, the
Yeah,
resolution.
yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. I
It's
remember
awesome.
that's a huge problem.
It was, I mean,
I
we
know
were
that's
ahead of that.
huge,
This
but
is
like people,
2011.
everyone had to deal with it. Like I know, for example, like the website that I have to sell my equipment. Like my friend was like, "Dude, we need like because he built my website." I was like, "Okay, we're good to go." And he goes, "You need a mobile version." He goes, "So many people will be on this tablet or be on their phones or be on their Samsung or be whatever.
And it's not gonna size up.
Yeah, it's not gonna work." He goes, you need to adjust for that. You need to make it happen." And I didn't even know that was a problem until he showed me what it looked like, and I'm like,
What
"This
the
is
fuck?
terrible." Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy shit for myself, like I
100%.
wouldn't do that. So interesting. Right.
Yeah, so did Sapien Nitro for a while on Lincoln Road on Miami Beach.
Oh, nice.
Just hated the team
You
there.
committed. You
I
commuted there.
commuted from Kendall there. Yeah.
That's a schlep.
Yeah, well, I would go in at like 6 in the morning so I could leave at like 2:30 or 3.
Nice.
Till
They were flexible like that.
they weren't.
So they
And
were.
then when they weren't, I was like, fuck y'all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've only been fired from one job in my life, and it was that one.
Really.
Yeah, this project manager. Oh, my team is working on this shit, and like, there's defects, this and this and this, and I'm like, well, we work from 6 to 3. I'm sorry that your team doesn't come in till noon and wants to work till 10 at night. That shit don't fly for us. And
Right.
everyone had this freedom until they didn't.
How are you with confrontation?
I welcome it.
You welcome it.
I challenge it, but I
You
welcome it. Yeah.
right. You
You
don't
want to be better. You want people to challenge you, but
right
for the right and accurate, legitimate reason.
for sure, dude. That's
Just because you
great
think
way to
something's
put it.
right don't mean that shit's right.
Right. Definitely.
But just because I think it's right don't mean it's right neither.
That's exactly that. That's what I was trying to get at. I was curious to see if that's what you're going to get at. Definitely, dude. I'm so not sure of myself because I've been so wrong about so many things so many times that like I believe very strongly what I believe in, but I'm totally welcome to hearing why I'm not right and then adjusting.
Well,
Like
there's so many things we're ignorant to. I think people look at that word ignorant like it's a bad word. It's not a bad word. I didn't
no,
call you stupid. I'm
yeah,
not stupid.
you just don't know.
Now,
You didn't
now,
think like that.
but now, if we educate you on it and you fuck up again, you are stupid.
Right.
And so it's like I think there's so much stuff that we are all, just not privy to, that we're ignorant to. The world continues to change. New technology, new experiences, new food,
Yeah.
new types of beer, everything.
Dude,
It's all the same. It doesn't matter like what your industry is. If you ain't growing, then you going the way of the dodo bird.
Right. 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 So how'd you get into beer? I'm excited about this part.
Yeah, I mean, after bouncing around like a bunch of different tech jobs, everything from the cruise industry, doing a bunch of
Were you
like
in the
back
cruise-
end,
yeah?
did a bunch of stuff for like Carnival and Royal Caribbean on their back end. So like booking,
Nice.
different types, like making sure that booking was going right, creating different
Did
environments.
they treat you well? They give you like perks or discounts or whatever.
No. Every company I ever worked for outside of Track Phone was very good to me.
Right.
My second job after Sapient was Track Phone. I was there for maybe a year or two, and it was just a terrible like Banana Republic. It was run by Carlos Slim at the time, the world's richest person in the world.
Really?
Yep.
Who is that?
Carlos Slim.
Where's he from?
Mexico.
Mexico.
Mhm.
And he's richer than like these.
No. This was in 2011, 2012.
But he was richer than like those
Bill
Arab oil
Gates
princes and
and
stuff like that.
their money ain't real. Like
That's all right.
they're obviously richer than everybody, but they don't
They
they
don't have
weren't.
liquid money.
Yeah, or they,
They literally have liquid
they
money.
have that fund though,
Right.
so like the IMF or whatever. So it's like we know that they richer, but they don't ever put their bread out there so that you know.
Right.
Like they can say Jeff Bezos is the richest dude or the Tesla guy. We know the Saudi princes has got more money.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But they don't.
And we also know that, like, if Elon wanted to, you know, be worth X amount of $1 billion
He's gonna be a trillion.
tomorrow,
He's gonna
he
be a
would.
trillionaire.
You know how much work he'd have to do to sell all his Tesla stock and his SpaceX stock, and I mean, and then the whole thing would crash. And he doesn't. He's not worth. He's worth that. He doesn't have that. You
That's right.
know.
Well, and no person that's worth that bread
Yeah. Has
has
it.
that bread.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
They might have fucking go yard trunks with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash or gold or whatever, but it's with equity, it's with yachts, it's with
Sure.
land, it's with
Yeah.
real estate, it's with
Assets.
companies, it's assets,
Right.
and that's how they're getting these loans. It's not for nothing and not to talk about it, but it's the Donald Trump method.
Yeah.
That motherfucker ain't got a dollar to his name probably, but
Right.
he got a lot of
He
land,
got a lot.
a lot of
He's
real
got a
estate.
lot of value. He's got a
Yeah,
lot of
a lot of
value to his
value
name,
for the
dude.
brand.
Except
Tom
for
Brady.
yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So locally, a bunch of friends of mine. One was here just a little bit ago, and he left. Big Dave,
The guy
my
with the
buddy.
beard.
Uh, yeah, taller guy.
Tall guy. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
left just
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
minute
Yeah.
ago. Dave, my buddy Tom Pilla, and a couple other friends. Jens Amuller. We all got into craft beer honestly from Laser Wolf over here.
Really, that's who you got
14,
introduced to.
14 years ago. We started going there probably about 11 years ago.
Laser Wolf was the first craft beer place that opened around here,
I
right?
think
Or Riverside
Riverside might have
Market,
been
Greater
first.
Thing. Did they just close?
No, they're still open.
They still open?
This one, the one on South did.
Oh, okay,
But
gotcha.
that was always just an acquisition to just have another location.
Yeah,
That was like the keg on Sixth or something before that, or keg on Ninth. It was a couple things before Riverside got it.
gotcha.
Um, but yeah,
So you
we
got into
just
craft
start.
beer at Laser Wolf.
Yeah, they would do these crazy tap takeovers with Founders or Almanac and like
The originals, guys. The
yeah, the
originals.
original joints.
Seriously,
And then my wife
OGs.
being from Connecticut, we'd go up to Connecticut, Boston, New York, and like
Oh shit.
I stumbled across Trillium and Treehouse for like the first time, 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, like beer
And
can be
those
like
were the
this.
best. Those were like there was no one else that was doing what they were doing at that point.
No. And down south, before Civil Society, it'll be 10 years this year, right? So 9 years ago, let's say 10 years ago now, is when they opened up and they started doing it.
Civil's one of the first.
Civil was the first one to do haze down here.
Their haze is awesome.
Yeah,
I
they were the
love the
first ones to
haze.
do it.
Yeah.
Because you had Funky Buddha. And you
Jay
had the
Wakefield's
Abbey.
better.
And Wakefield was right at 10 as well.
And then
Um,
Dogfish had spot here. I don't think it was a brewery.
no, they had a brewery, but it took over Concrete Beach. That
Yes.
still was that still was,
Right.
but this
That's
is I mean,
older.
we're
That's older.
talking 11 years ago. That shit was like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, in the early 2000 teens,
And I think Three Sons was pretty early too. No.
well, Three Sons Brewery turned six in March, or actually in February, and we turned six in September. But Three
No way. Just
Sons
2 months apart or 3 months apart.
like 6 months apart, but they, Corey, had a fermenter at like Cycle, and like Corey been in the game for like 10, 15 years as a home brewer.
Nice.
He was like a EMT first responder. I think he triaged the very first case of West Nile in Miami, I believe, or maybe in
Really?
Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So when Corey came down here, he met his wife, I think, in like Syracuse or up in New York or maybe
By Buffalo, probably, right?
he was in the army and stuff like that. So, and could have some of that info wrong, but
Sure.
yeah, Corey
I'll probably
was,
talk to him at some point also about it.
Corey was in the game like
Great dude.
when everybody was working at Cigar City. Jay Wakefield,
Sure.
Ryan Dowdle from Angry Chair, all these dudes,
Cigar City.
all these
Forgot about
dudes came
Angry
from
Chair.
Cigar City.
Yeah.
Cigar City been around 15 years,
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, and yeah, so just like, so just being down here in this environment, and then Funky had opened, and golly, we loved Funky. We were like snifter clubs, original snifter clubs,
Right.
10 years ago, 11 years ago, and then when I started going up north with my wife, I saw what beer could be. And so when I came home, I wanted to try to make it. I remember getting my first Mr. Beer kit probably in 2016, 2017.
What style did you like when you started? What caught your attention?
Imperial stouts, barrel aged
Stouts caught your
and
attention first.
big like hazy IPAs.
Gotcha. That big flavor was just like it just blew you away.
Yeah, I didn't know beer could be like that, and I didn't care back then that they were 500-700 calories a pop. You know what I mean?
Dude,
I was in the best shape of my
I
life.
only discovered that like 6 months ago, dude, and I haven't been able to drink IPA since then. I feel so guilty every time I do.
Yeah.
I feel like a stout is like an experience, and like okay, like of a special stout. I'll have a bunch of friends over. We'll open a bottle. We'll have a couple ounces. It's okay.
Yeah.
But like, I know guys that drink can after can, day after day of hazies, and they gain 20, 30 pounds in a year or two. I mean, it's crazy. I
Happens
gained a
just like
shit ton of
that.
weight too, dude. And then as soon as I stopped drinking, you know what it was?
Fades away.
The doubles and the triples, and then the fruited sours, dude. Those fruited sours that are like
Empty
just
sugar.
just sugar, just fruit and sugar and shit like
Yeah, I
that.
thought that industry was just gonna kill all its own people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I you know,
Right.
it's like the old school days of going to like Angry Chair. You see everybody out there with purple ankles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They got on fucking orthopedic cart. You know,
It's
the orthopedic socks and
sure.
fucking. When you see that in your line, you know that there's a time, there's a finite time
That you could
stamp
be
on
consuming
that.
that amount. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're gonna fucking die. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Diabetes or whatever. You know.
Yeah, dude.
And I mean that was just that game. I mean, you still see it. Everybody's still making beer like that. It ain't like it like died. You know what I mean? But it's just
Yeah,
it's
but
less and less now.
I was about to say, I think that more and more people are coming to appreciate the low ABV, like lager game or the single hop. I had
West Coast IPA and lager is like back, and it's like there's no denying it.
is
Over
West
the
Coast
last two
healthier?
years,
They have less
I
sugar.
wouldn't say it's healthy. It's a generally drier beer. If it's drier, it has less sugar.
Right.
But I wouldn't necessarily say it's healthier. It's definitely easier on digestion. It's definitely easier on your waistline, but
Sure.
not to the. I mean, look, they still make triple
Yeah.
West
Triple.
Coast
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
IPAs too.
Sure.
So anytime you have that, you always having a high sugar content. You know,
My favorite Westie I had was here at your party last year for the members when you opened that West Park
North Park.
North Park. I mean North Park Westie. That's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
North
North
Park. You
Park
know,
Westie
some
was
of
a
my best
triple. It
friends
was
in
a,
the world.
dude. They were so. Oh man. Okay. so so you're getting into beer.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
getting
So
into beer, and you're like, I'm gonna make my own home brew.
yep.
And you've
I got a
started a
one.
business before at some point in your life too, because you've done this yourself. Like when you said when you were in St. Thomas, you
Oh yeah,
worked
yeah,
for
yeah.
yourself
I
before.
had started my own business. And again, I knew I didn't want to keep working in tech. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I really liked what Laser Wolf was doing, and I was like, oh, maybe we just open like a beer bar, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that was at that time, beer bars are dying too. They're closing every day.
Right.
And so at that time, I was like, shit, this is a great idea. I started home brewing, did the 1 gallon thing, immediately got like the itch. So then I go to Home Depot and get like the orange coolers, and I have like
Yeah.
a janky like 5 gallon setup. Then I started investing real money. I did the SS Brewtech 5 gallon, then the 10 gallon.
Was that scary to do to start investing real money into it before you
Well,
had a
not back then because
business?
I was making so much money. I had
Oh, because you were
kids.
doing tech and everything. That's
Yeah, I
right.
mean,
That's right. So
it
it
was
was just a
just
hobby.
I was just trading one expense for another.
Wow. Right.
And so you didn't really think about it. Like my wife wasn't bitching about it, so it wasn't too big of a problem.
Right.
And it was always like something fun, like you and your friends get together on Saturday and you drink all these fun beers. We'd be trading beers all over the world at this time and getting some of the coolest beers in the world and shit like that. And
Yeah.
it was a really fun like Pokemon. You got to catch them all,
Yeah. Definitely.
And I know kids still do that today. Back then it was just so different, and we became like unbelievable beer traders. Thankfully, too, Funky Buddha, Civil Society, Wakefield.
Because everyone wanted their beer.
Everybody wanted those beers. We
Dude,
had
Wakefield's
access to
was
them.
Wales. It was considered Wales. They're like, dude, if you could get a Wakefield beer, like that was like top of the line.
Exactly.
They're opening back up again, right? As far as you know.
I don't really have the details on that. My every time I've chatted with him, that's what they tell me.
Yeah,
So
like they
I
don't
have no
plan on
reason not to
stopping. Like they're
think that.
good. They
Yeah,
have their reputation. They
yeah,
have their name,
and
and
their product's still out there. They're brewing at another facility in Miami right now that are putting out cans and stuff. So the market, they're still in the market. They
right.
didn't
Yeah, they're
vanish
not
from the
going anywhere.
market.
I don't think they're going
I
anywhere
don't
yet.
know what their plan is. I know that they're made in date, so they want a space in Miami, which I can
They do. They want
appreciate.
to stay. They want to stay in that area. They
Yeah,
want to stay. They don't want to go to Broward.
no, no. And I mean, I love those guys. I think the world of them, and
It's great.
I consider them friends. And I've definitely, I was there the day that Wakefield closed. I was at all the Wake Fests, and John and Maria, Maria especially, just because I would deal with her a little bit more. I would chat with her a little bit more.
There are a couple that owns it.
No, no, no. They she was the head brewer for John.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
John was the head brewer, and I guess she was like lead brewer. I don't know what the hierarchy was, but
Yeah,
he
I
was
gotcha.
one, she was two.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And then they had a lot of help throughout the time, from Theo Castillo, who was there. Then he left and went to Grimm. He's now come back. He
Oh,
has his
Grim
own.
is awesome.
Yeah, he has his own gypsy brewery called No Seasons now. You had Sosa who
In
left
Florida.
there.
Where does he? Where does he brew
I
at?
don't know where he brews out
I
of.
mean,
If it's
Gypsy, I guess, is all over the
unseen,
place.
it's either Unseen Creatures or at MIA.
Who's that dude Lester that was at Unseen Creatures? He was
Yeah,
also at Jay Wakefield,
he was at
also
Wakefield.
Tripping
He was at
Animals. He's all over the
Charleston.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's worked everywhere.
he's great.
Yeah.
Does that happen with brewers a lot? Brewers will bounce around from like local brewery to local brewery.
I think in this industry in general, it's easy to get burnt out. The
Yeah.
work is hard, the pay is minimal. So you do see a lot of movement from frustrations and from opportunities. You start maybe working a bar, and then you get like an assistant cellarman job, and then somebody says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna give you like the head cellarman job," and then you go to the package team, and then you go to cleaning out tanks, and then you go to maybe get an opportunity on the deck.
Right.
And so it's just a natural progression. That was something I never had, so I never was able to
Yeah,
do
because you do
that.
that all that shit yourself.
Well, I mean, I reached. It wasn't for not trying. I had a good job. I was homebrewing, and then I would reach out to everybody. I won't say any names, but
Sure.
I reached out to a lot of people from West Palm or from Jupiter to Miami,
Right.
and no one really wanted to give me an opportunity to intern. And I didn't understand it then. I understand it now.
Right. By the way, I feel the same freaking way. Dude.
I understand it now. I didn't understand it then. And so, you were a little salty, but also that was motivation for me. That really drove me.
Because you're competitive.
Yes. And we were going to homebrew competitions and we were doing great. Me and John Brulahan were always wanting to.
Right.
And he was making such a great product, and he still makes unbelievable products. He wasn't really on the meat as much as he is obviously now with his own meadery.
Yeah.
He was making unbelievable great beer.
I love meat.
None of us could brew lager back then. All of us were just brewing hazy beer and stout beer.
Is lager harder?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh my God. Clear beer in general is just, there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
You can't throw coconut at this.
Right.
I mean,
you know what?
And we're not gonna take you serious.
That's so funny. So it's funny. I almost got a job at one of these breweries. Again, I don't want to say who because they didn't really treat me too great at the end.
Sure.
But I almost got a job at one of these breweries doing sales distribution. Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to get my foot in the door because I love it. And I was talking to one of the brewers. I was like, "What's your favorite beer to make?" He's like, "A lager." And I was blown away by that answer. He's like, "Listen, you have IPA. If you screw it up, throw some fruit in there, throw some more hops in there, throw some more sugar in there. You're good to go."
Yep.
He goes, "A lager, you gotta make a great lager for it to be a great lager.
Yeah.
Like you can't stumble. It's hard. It's really hard to stumble into.
I mean, that's the thing. People come in all the time and they ask stupid fucking questions like, "What's your favorite thing on tap?" And what's this and this. And it's like, what are you most proud of? Like, what a stupid question, It's
Yeah.
like, we have 10
You're
taps.
proud of this, dude.
We have 10 taps. If it's on tap, I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like for me, it's always lager.
Right.
Where it used to be probably big stouts or this and that. For me, it's always going to be lager now because I took about 2 years of my life like dedicating, like not brewing stouts, not putting beers in barrels because I was so focused on lager beer.
Really?
Because I was like, I really want to be great at this, and slowly but surely,
How'd you learn?
By failing.
Really?
I mean, I think
Do you get advice from other people?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what all collabing is about. People always say, "Oh, Davey, you collab this and this and this," and it's like, yeah, you know how fucking lucky I am.
Yeah.
You know how many motherfuckers' phone numbers are just in my phone? If I got a question, I just call.
How was your experience with Equilibrium?
Oh,
Because I was going to
phenomenal.
bring it over when you said I'm not drinking
Oh,
as much in
phenomenal.
January. I decided not to bring it, but I have your
The stout?
the turtle, yeah, the
Yeah.
turtle, the
I haven't
caramel
even had
turtle
that,
stash.
yeah.
Dude, you haven't had it?
No.
I'll bring it over. I literally I bought it. I was
They
so
always
hyped to
send me.
bring it. I thought
They
you
always
wanted to
send me
drink
the beer,
tonight.
so the beer always shows up. But I just haven't had a chance to try it yet. But Michelle up there is just unbelievable.
I
And Ryan,
love that place.
the head brewer up there, Ryan, is just so phenomenal. Pete is so amazing. But Michelle is just someone I really hold dear.
Who is she? What's her place?
Michelle's like the HNIC up it. I mean, Pete's the big boss, but Michelle is like right there.
Right.
Like 1A, 1B.
Gotcha.
And then Ryan is really a great brewer. They just got such a great team. And I'll tell you, they're a small brew house, man. That brew house is just churning out beer.
They do so
work
much.
so hard. Yeah, the team is just so amazing. The new space that they have there in Middle.
I love you've been there, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, unless we've made 4 or 5 collabs, my ass shows up. I'm there for the collab.
Yeah.
So
Good
it's
for
like
you.
once we've brewed a couple times, I know your team. Like I know I don't have to be there. You're gonna everything's gonna be done to what our expectations are. But as a small brewery, when I opened, I only had one. I was a 1 barrel brew house. Everybody called me crazy. Everybody said it wouldn't last. And then you fast forward 6 years and
Dude,
we're one of the top rated breweries.
you're one of the top. You're one of the top names. Like you guys are a international name now.
Yeah.
What does it feel like? Is that weird?
The thing that's weird about it, especially for me. So, for instance, you bring that up. You always want to be the best. It doesn't matter what you're doing,
Right.
but you never want to say something like that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that fucking guy. But I had baby goals. When we opened, I was like, I'm gonna be the head brewer until we get invited to Mickler.
Right.
And then 4 years in, we get invited to Mickler.
Yeah.
And then we go to Mickler, and we're fucking headlining Mickle. And I'm there with Corey, and we're having the fucking best time. And I got this shit tatted on me. You know what I mean?
Get out of here from that event.
At the festival.
Get out of here.
Yeah, me and John from Resident Culture. This whole leg is identical.
Wow.
We have the identical same leg.
I see. That's the resident culture lightning bolt.
That's the resident code. That's Zool.
Wow.
This is what we did with Mac. This is microphone. This is also with Mac.
Oh shit.
From North Park, who
And
now
everyone
is
did
at
it.
Fidey's. Yeah.
Oh really? Wait, he went to Fidance?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think this week. I think is when it started.
Oh wow.
I
Because
mean,
they
it's,
got a new tap room. Have you been to their new tap room
I
yet?
have not been to their new tap room yet.
It's cool, dude. It's a cool place. It's really nice.
I'll be there.
You're gonna be there. I know you will, dude. I know you, dude. After the names that the names that you have, there's no chance that you're not gonna be there.
You know, we're just grateful, you know, to all these opportunities. You know, I tell you, it happened by chance. You know, we had kept working our butts off, and we were getting a lot of recognition for stout beer. And I think that
So you started by brewing stouts. That was what you were doing.
yeah, yeah.
And what was the first like? Because you blew my mind when I started drinking stouts. Thank you. Gotta get better lighters, dude.
It's the win.
You gotta. The first peanut butter and jelly stout I had was from you. The first pineapple stout I had was from you. The first time that I heard all these crazy shit, I came here, dude. Dude, I remember when I moved down here, I was just getting into beer. I didn't know what a stout was really. I kind of had an idea, but I didn't really know. And I thought, my craft beer, my stout was like a 6% nitro,
Yeah,
whatever, kind of
left
stout.
hand, left hand.
Left hand kind of thing, right? Exactly. And I was looking at breweries nearby. I've been to Three Sons once just because I just Googled breweries near me and they popped up first.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this place is cool. Then I looked up just craft small beer breweries and I came by and I sat down and I was like, I'm in love with this place. Like, I was like, I walk in and you see the artwork on the wall, dude. You see the murals and you see and like just everything about the place. And I think
Thank
Carrie was the first person I met here.
Yeah, Carrie's amazing.
And I mean, first of all, I mean, it's a shame that that she. Hey, I'm sure she's doing great things, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
she
she's
locked
she's
me
doing
in. I was like, I'm
think
committed to this place.
Her and Jamie will be together on Thursday. I think they're doing something. I mean, we still hang out so much. She didn't leave because she didn't want to be here. She
For
left.
sure.
She left because she needed some changes in her life.
You could
and
tell.
that's what it was.
You could tell that it was a beautiful. It's a beautiful.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're
relationship.
still together all the time.
Yeah.
I love Carrie. I love Paul. You know, they're part of my family for the rest of my life. The one thing about Orchestrated Minds is that if you come here and you do things the right way, we're going to be together for the rest of our lives. What an asshole. Jesus. After school program too. He probably has one of those phone numbers. Like, you should call this if I'm driving like an asshole. We should definitely
Oh,
get
dude,
it.
I've had a friend that called those numbers. By the way, it's crazy.
Well, that was an asshole move. But yeah, somebody just ran a stop sign for those.
So, you're brewing. You decided you're going to open your own place.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with Orchestrated Minds?
Actually, so leaving college, I we were working for a company that if you created anything, like, it was their propriety, it was theirs.
Yeah.
Sort of like working at Disney.
Yeah.
You know, if you drew something at Waffle House, Disney owned it.
Yeah.
And so we came up with this kind of fictitious company, Orchestrated Minds, and it was really because even though I was very proud of what I was doing, I was very good at a lot of things with the product development of video games. I wasn't ever the best, and it wasn't hard for me to realize that there were people in my industry better than me. The biggest thing was that none of them had personality, none of them had pizzazz, none of them could talk to people.
Sure.
And so I was really good at being a good middleman, or if you will, a conductor of a symphony. So I was orchestrating
Beautiful.
other people's minds.
That you thought of that.
Yeah, that's 100% mine. I own that as a video game company,
Really?
Orchestrated Minds. And we were just doing like little stuff, Xbox Live games. This is for before 36. No, this is 360, before Xbox One came out, stuff like that. PlayStation 3 was maybe out. I think it was PS2.
Right.
I think it was still PS2. And Nintendo Wii.
God, I love the Wii. Dude.
You know, the Xbox Connect.
Yeah.
You know, shit like that. And it was, and so I already owned the name. So, I mean, it was a very easy transition. You think I'm taking yeast, hops, grain, and water and doing the same thing that I was doing with other people. I'm taking something that on its own might be not
It's
great.
technical,
When you
right?
put it together, you're creating a symphony with it.
Yeah.
And so the name was really a no-brainer for me. And again, like, I was always, doing
also
everything
stands
by
out.
myself.
It
It
stands
does.
out.
It's a difficult name, I think, because the word can be hard, just because it's long.
Yeah.
But once you say it 3 or 4 times,
Sure.
or you see the logo,
The
no
logo,
matter
by
where
the
you
way.
go in the word.
How'd you think of the logo? Are you a music junkie?
Yeah, super junky. Like, so I was into Foley, like, super heavy in college, making sound effects and shit like that. And I think that was another avenue like I was always willing to go down. If it wasn't video games, it was going to be music.
Music. Do you
And
play anything?
hip hop. No, don't play shit.
You just
Just
love it.
always had the ear for like finding beats. But never was like instrumentally inclined.
Right.
Just had a great
It's really
ear.
hard, by
Had
the
a great
way.
ear. Just like now, I think I have a great nose. So it's like I'm really good with beer because my palate is, you know, not for nothing. It's second to none. I can pick out flavors and I'm really good with how we blend and knowing phonetically, what works well together.
Sure.
That was probably just a passion for food too that kind of led to that. Um, but
So
yeah,
you get into whatever you get into.
oh, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. I don't have a problem punting and walking away when I realize that it's not working out.
Yeah.
Um, but with this one, with this one, it was just one of those things. I had been home brewing and we had been doing good, and there was really no brewery. You got to understand too, you know, Tarpon was open, Three Sons was open, Invasive was open, and Funky was open.
I just opened your Christmas
Obviously,
July like yesterday.
Lauderdale was open.
Lauderdale was open already?
Yeah, Lauderdale's been around for like 11 years. Lauderdale and Funky are the oldest two, and
Okay.
then everybody follow in Fort Lauderdale.
That's
Everybody
that
kind of
guy's a
followed.
Jewish dude in Lauderdale, right? Or no,
Kyle,
who's I'm thinking of? Lauderdale's the one. No.
Lauderdale's
Who's the one in the Peace logo?
that's
Yeasty
Yeasty
Brews.
Brews.
Yeasty Brews. Yeah.
So when I opened, there's a big write up in the paper. Actually, I have it on the wall back there. It was like more brews to choose, and it was supposed to be me opening, Yeasty Brews opening, Dangerous Minds opening, Unseen Creatures opening,
Wow.
and one more Unseen Creatures. I don't know.
Uh.
I can't remember.
Okay.
It was 5 or 6 of us. I'm the only
Was
one that
Invasive
opened on
around
the
then?
day. Invasive is a year older, 2 years older than me.
Okay, gotcha.
And the brewers there, one came from Funky and one came from MIA.
Okay, cool. I
And
didn't know
they
that.
and they worked at
But
Laser
these are
Wolf, and then Laser Wolf was part of the ownership group that opened
right.
Invasive. And then about 2 years in or 3 years in, my dates could be wrong, and that's not a
Sure.
question for me to really answer. But I know that they peacefully separated,
Yeah.
and the Laser Wolf guys went back to Laser Wolf only, and the Invasive guys separated out to just be Invasive because Phil and Josh were Invasive as homebrewers.
Right.
They had been homebrewing as Invasive even while while Phil was still at Funky.
Right.
Um,
That's I love those kind of stories. But it's so funny because I associate Funky Buddha and MIA with like these giant breweries now that they don't make like craft quality beer like
sure.
without expecting to walk. And not by the way, not to knock
No, it's not a knock.
because I
They're
think that
distro breweries.
yeah, the distributors and they're all over the country. I mean, you walk into any Publix and you can find a Funky Buddha. You can find an MIA all over Florida and probably Atlanta and I
Well,
don't know.
when you're making 60 to 100 barrels at a time, you got to move that beer somewhere.
Yeah,
It's impossible to move that in the tap room.
yeah,
Honestly, I mean, anything more than a 3 barrel, like, it's hard to move. Invasive does a good job there at 10 barrel brew house. They move a lot of beer in that tap room. Lauderdale is a 5 or 7 barrel brew house. They move a lot of beer in that
yeah,
tap room.
yeah.
They got 20 something taps.
A
You
lot
know
of
what I
places
mean?
are closing recently.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons for that.
It's tough.
Declining craft beer, poorly run management, shitty beer. There's good beer places that close too.
Yeah.
Location. I mean, there's so many
It's
things.
expensive.
Well, it's extremely expensive, and if you don't have, the cash to be able to sustain it, breweries are a very cash flow sensitive business.
Right.
You might have beer in tanks, no grain, all these bills coming in. You can't buy grain. What the fuck are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bills just add up and add up and add up. I mean, it gets so expensive. So that's one of the things. I also think that people thought that this is easy, and they, you know, anytime I see, and not for nothing, man, if I see a fucking GoFundMe or if I see a
Yeah.
fucking some sort of investment scheme, you can almost guarantee that motherfuckers ain't gonna make it
Yeah.
because it ain't their money.
Yeah. It's
And
not
if
that
it
money.
ain't your money and you ain't got the sweat equity in it, it's one thing if you get a loan from your dad and you got to pay him back. At least you got to pay that motherfucker back, even if it's your dad.
GoFundMe is just extra money to spend.
That's just somebody giving you free shit.
Yeah.
And these investment schemes hit shit. These fucking companies go under, and then what? The investors are sitting there holding their dick.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
I just never, I never, I don't believe in that. I'm the type of person. I grew up on a tobacco farm. Lower middle class. If you can't afford it, you don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
And not everything is for everybody. Now everybody should be treated fairly and human rights
For
and all
sure.
that type
For
of
sure.
stuff.
For sure. For sure.
But just because
You
Joe
gotta earn it.
Schmo
You gotta
got
earn what you earn.
just because Joe Schmo got a shipping company, if you want to get into shipping, don't mean that you just should be able to get into shipping.
Yeah.
Go and cut your teeth and learn the ins and outs of it, and don't just do one thing. Like, don't just go and be a bartender and say I want to open up a bar. Or don't go and be an assistant brewer and say I can brew. You ain't never order grain. You ain't never fire nobody. You ain't never built a recipe. You ain't never, besides cleaning the tank or something. What have you done? How have you proved this? And so look, and I'm a terrible case study for that because I never had the opportunity to work anywhere. I had to do everything myself. When we first opened, I had never racked a beer off a fermenter. I had never carbonated a beer in stainless steel. The first 6 months for us were very difficult. It was a lot of learning lessons, a lot of, you're making beer for free and people are trying, and of course they love it. They're not paying for it.
Yeah.
When you start paying taxes and people start paying for it, the truth of it is that it comes really fast. The truth comes fast. It's information from a fire hose, and you have to be able to take that and flip that and make that work. Being able to be nimble and pivot is the most important thing of your first 3 to 5 years of a business.
Hang on a thought. If you don't mind, I got to piss like a horse.
Yeah,
Hang on
yeah.
1 second, dude. So first 6 months, just hustled yourself. Just all yourself.
You're trying to build a name. Look, the thing that sucks, and one of the reasons like we don't even do like big anniversary parties. You say you open something and people just show up, like thousands of people, and they're ready to tear you apart. Fair enough, right? They're paying for a product or paying for a service. And so I understood that, and we tried to get better about it. The thing that always irritated me was that people show up for your anniversary and won't come to your tap room for the whole year.
Yeah.
But then they'll come in, on the busiest daggone day of the year.
And you're pouring cans from all over the place and bottles from everyone, and they come in.
They go and give you a 1-star Google review and just all that kind of shit, and none of it's a big deal. None of it's a big deal at all.
Not a
But
big
it's
deal
just
because you have your fan base and your reputation, and like I think people know that. Like I think a lot of people know that.
we did a really great job. I thought we had about a year where we did the Fat Village art walk.
Okay.
Where we gave our beer away for free for you. Hey, we're a brewery. We're gonna open, and we had a great support system from the local community.
That's awesome.
I also was just one of those guys. I was always at every brewery and very supportive of what all the other brewers were doing too. So we were given an opportunity, I think, at the right time. It was about the end of the craft beer craze, and it was hard to really see that, make that out. But it was just one of those opportunities, and we took advantage of it.
Yeah.
We really
did. I just had your bottle with Tarpon River.
Yeah.
Because I got it last year, and I loved it. And I saw that Savage Life also did a collab with them. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I love
thought it was
Sam.
great.
Sam's a great guy.
He was. I met him. I think here. Remember you were selling was it a Rose and a Crown?
Oh yeah.
Was I still have a bottle of
wine
that.
barrel aged sour. Yeah, that was a wild one.
That was crazy. How do you come up with these different kind of ideas? Like, and also, dude, I gotta ask, when are you making a smoked lager?
Yeah, I love a smoked lager. We did, and now that I'm good at lager, I'd love to do a smoked lager.
I love smoke. Like they're my. I
We
think
did a Roush beer with Lester. He has a gypsy brewery company called Hello There,
yes.
and we did one with him, a Roush beer called Dogaba Smoke. Excuse me. He's really into like Star Wars and shit, and so we did something that was like themed off of something that he wanted to do there, and I really love working with Lester. Lester and I really get along great. Love his wife too, his kids.
Yeah, of course.
Lester's a part of my life for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. I hope so because I mean, yeah, I know that he's a great brewer. I know that he makes great beer. I know that it's a good business. So I guess you could be as closed or open as you want about this. What do you envision for like the next couple of years?
Oh, I think that's tough. We took our 5-year lease extension already.
Right.
So
You plan on staying here?
Yeah, well, we have, I think, one more option after this. The thing is as a brewery, you want to own your building. So Jamie and I have been adamant. Too cold?
Freezing, right?
Oh, this is just yeah, but just go in the back by the. Oh, I don't have none rolled up. Yeah, please. Sorry, man. Huh? Sorry. Uh, so I mean, we have 4 years left on our lease. That carries us to, like 2029. Our goal is to still find a space to do a full build out with a 7 to 10 barrel brew house with a full kitchen, great outside space for entertainment and everything. I mean, like that has to be the goal. At the same time,
yeah.
you have to be realistic. Like, I'm I've already lived 3 or 4 lives, and if it doesn't work out like that, I'm fine walking away.
Yeah,
I'll
but you're
still be
still,
involved in beer.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I'll
so,
never not be
yeah,
involved in beer.
yeah, of course.
The brand won't go anywhere, but like,
I
you
love
look at
Tart
people,
Bond's location.
you look at people like, yeah, me too, but that's still like
That
not
big
our vibe.
warehouse is so cool. By the way, each place has their own
Own
vibe. It's
vibe.
perfect for what they're trying to. By the way, I think this place is perfect for what it's trying to accomplish too. You had you have. I remember Carrie was telling me when I first time was in here that the people that come here, the regulars, like do a lot of artsy kind of fun stuff for you, right? Like they help you design. Like she said that like the picture in the bathroom was drawn by someone, the Bondaloo bottle.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Robert does that for a lot of the breweries. He's very passionate about that.
yeah,
He'll go around
and all your coasters have different
all our
print.
labels that we've done. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's one of our
awesome.
family, one of our bottle club members. They definitely support Melissa and Danny. They're really great. They have a 3D printer. They do a lot of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
no,
really cool.
we
How
have
do you go with the names and stuff?
oh, that's all over the place. That's usually a hip hop song that I'm listening to or a mood.
Yeah,
You know, anytime I feel like jaded or shysted by somebody,
yeah,
I think of a way to passively aggressively name something that's like fuck
sure.
them, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I love gangster shit, so it's like my hip hop kind of culture and community. That's what a lot like Flood the Block. The label has
Sure.
kind of the drug dealer theme on it. Custo is
All
a
the
song
smoke.
that just came out. All the
All the
smoke,
smoke.
that's like we want all the smoke and it's a
The way the
420
cookie
beer.
crumbles as a
Way, you know,
420 beer. I love it.
all those types of things. We have one I think it's like we're neighbors, not friends, shit like that. It's like dig deeper is because it's a dark lager, and the first one that I did I think was called Depth of My Soul.
Okay.
So I was like, bitch, you want to kill me? You better dig deep.
I
I'll
love
come back and get you, man. So you
I
better dig
love
deeper.
it, dude. Freaking
Just
awesome.
little things like that. Obviously, too, anytime we can incorporate the dogs, paws
Sure.
in the sand. Such a special beer that label with the human feet
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
dog
yeah,
feet.
yeah. I love that.
It's
I
just
love
really,
it.
it's really nice. You try your best to incorporate your life. I think that what's made us so successful is that we're 100% genuine.
Yeah.
Now that's not gonna make everybody happy. Certain people not gonna feel that. But we're unapologetically us.
Yeah, that's what
And
you need to be.
the world, this customers always write bullshit. That's just not reality. Like, they come in here and just because you could get a sample at Funky Buddha, they get so mad at me for the no sample sign.
Yeah.
Like, that just shows me already, like, you don't fit in here. Like, you don't need to be here. This isn't not every place is for everybody.
Correct.
And even though we want all you to come in here and spend a bunch of money, I'm okay telling you to just go somewhere else.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sorry. I think that you'd be better. I think you'd enjoy this other place more.
100%.
Definitely. Definitely. Do you write?
Yeah.
You do right.
Yeah.
You definitely strike me as someone that right.
I'm very pragmatic with like processes and like
You like to
going back and like
writing as a means of like getting your thought like trying to get your thoughts in
postmortems.
order and
Like,
everything
we
like
create
that.
postmortems on like everything that we do.
Wow.
How can we be better? We have to go back and look at it. Like look at the numbers and shit don't lie.
Yeah.
Look at that shit and like you can garner all the information that you need to from the information that you had in the past. How not to repeat it.
Sure. Yeah. And I think writing it out, I've found in my life that like my thoughts in my head are not complete until like I find a way to either talk it out or write it out. And then while I'm doing that, I find out that it's something like I find out more than what I thought I realized along the way, and I find that to be like so valuable. I find
I agree. Like that's why they say hindsight's 2020. I think that having a journal or having some sort of documentation on, on events and things and having an avenue to express those things, not necessarily that for public consumption,
sure,
but for your own
self,
your
for
own
you,
self.
for you to process what your life is like and like what you're
And for
experiencing.
me, it's also the gym. I mean, I'm a gym rat. I still work out every day.
Yeah.
So for me, it's you need these other avenues that aren't just alcohol and beer related. You get into these. There's a lot of high school bullshit. They need these small businesses, and so you have to be able to rise above it. And we have a lot of fun talking a lot of shit. But like, I think that people know our morals and ethics are the most like solid. That's what separates us.
Sure.
I think is that we're morally and ethically driven, and that'll never change.
So last question, I'll wrap it up. Do you consider yourself, just out of curiosity, complete curiosity, you consider yourself spiritual?
I'm highly spiritual. I wouldn't say like
Just spiritual, just like you believe,
I believe in
you
like
like to be,
energy.
yes, energies and
Yeah,
like just
100%.
like you believe in like there's something deeper that you in life that in like the world that you could tap into.
100%. You have to.
You have to. I mean, I think so too. I'm
It
just
don't have to be
I'm
like
never.
faith or something, but like yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
whatever,
Yeah,
however,
whatever that
however it
word is,
manifests,
whatever
however
that
it
thing is.
manifests,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There's something that you cling to, like there's like spirit, like in the world that like
Yeah.
you love, that like you kind of like tap into to like.
Or
That's
just
also part of the
the
bigger
people
thing that,
before me. You know, like my dad. I know my dad is still like walking with me. You know, my dad died a year and a half ago, and it's like,
sorry to hear.
oh, that's life. I mean, I appreciate that, but that's
Sorry,
that's
brother.
kind of how life
Sure.
works, right? And so I know that he actually never even made it into my brewery, never made it into my tap room. So it's like, but I know he felt it and was
Sure.
proud of me and stuff
Yeah,
like
of
that. So
course.
it's like, you
It's a
use
baby.
all of
I
these
mean,
things,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You use all these things as motivation and affirmations for why you're doing something.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it, my brother.
My man,
I really appreciate you doing this, man.
appreciate
Thank
you,
you
man.
so much.
Yeah.
Dude, I hope to do it again if
Yeah,
you're down.
yeah.
We'll find another time
We'll
to do this.
dig
Dude,
deeper.
I will go dig deeper.
Dig deeper.
We'll dig deeper, dude. I'll be back, man. I appreciate this. Thank you, brother.